Hi. On June 22, 2022, the 123rd General Assembly held in Geneva approved the new ECMAScript 2022 standard, and today I will share my thoughts on some of the innovations in JavaScript, so here we go. The first innovation that we have all been waiting for and suffering without for a long time is, of course, the method. To understand why it is needed, let's remember how we access elements in an array. To retrieve the second element in the array, we specify the index 1 in square brackets, and to retrieve the last element in the array, we use a trick with the array length -1. How can we do all this now with the method? In the first case, we again specify index 1 and get the value, and in the second case, we use a negative number and get the last element of the array. We can finally move away from the array length workaround, and I am very happy about it. And if you think this is not a big deal, then let's consider an example with a two-dimensional array, how we used to retrieve the last element in a two-dimensional array. I can't even read this code out loud. It looks extremely awkward. And now let's use to solve the same task. It seems to me to be very simple and readable. And of course, it is worth adding that the method has appeared not only for arrays, but also for strings. And as far as I understand, wherever we use square brackets, we can now replace them with method. I personally am happy about this innovation. Now JavaScript has become even less like a mathematical language, with various kinds of brackets having special significance, and it seems more like a more human language, where you can even intuitively understand what this method does. The next new feature in JavaScript is the ability to add a cause to an error object. It looks something like this. We were trying to connect to the database, but some error occurred, and we want to make the error message more readable, so we write. We couldn't connect to the database, but at the same time, in order to debug more easily, we also need the initial error. Now it can be achieved using the cause property, to which you can pass the initial error that led to the current situation. Why is this needed? In all production projects, we all use Sentry, Bugsnag, or some other service for analyzing user errors. I am sure that all these services will quickly learn to analyze the cause property, because you will be able to access it using errored cause, and such services will provide you with more detailed information about the error that occurred for the user, which will undoubtedly affect the quality of our products. And for those who like workarounds, there is still another loophole. According to the documentation, it is not necessary to pass an error to the cause. In theory, you can put absolutely anything there and later somehow use it. I'm not sure how best to work with it. Either you can rely on error cause in the code or pass more custom information to Sentry. I think there will soon be more articles on this topic, and we can study others' experiences. A new object, hasOwn method, has been introduced. Its idea is absolutely identical to the hasOwn property method, namely, checking for the presence of a property in the object. So why introduce another method when we already have one? The answer to this question is in the implementation of hasOwn property. If you pay attention, the method is called directly from the variable where our object should be located. This works because the hasOwn property method is inside the object prototype, and all objects inherit this method. That's how it works. And if you think it is a good idea, not everyone agrees with it. The main problem with the prototype is that it can be overridden. For example, in this primitive way, you can explicitly implement the hasOwn property method. Or you can create an object using the object.createProto method, which takes the prototype as the first argument, and there you cannot describe the hasOwnProps method, and as a result, it won't exist. You might think that if you are writing such code, then you are to blame and you will suffer with this code, but there are more unpleasant situations. For example, for some reason, you create an object using object.createNull, and now you don't have the hasOwn property method, and you pass this object to some npm package, and suddenly there is an incomprehensible error. You bang your fist on the table and curse that the packages are not working properly. To protect yourself from this problem, npm package developers began writing the following code. They explicitly extract the hasOwn property method from the global object prototype and use the call method to check for the property. And if you think this is all nonsense and complete absurdity, then you don't understand the scale of the problem. In order not to write this code every time, developers created a separate package named Has, and it is an extremely popular package with over 33 million downloads per week. For comparison, React has fewer than 16 million downloads per week, which is 2 times less. I decided to check my yarn.lock file, and it turned out that the package Has is being used in my current project, and as many as 18 packages are using it. The implementation of this package is only 2 lines, and as you can see, it also has dependencies, a very similar package that also solves the security issue. The new method HasOwn was created to address this problem. It is not a method of the object prototype like HasOwnProps. It is implemented as a static object method, and the risks of its usage have decreased significantly. Sometimes, when you see the announcement of a new method, the motivation for its creation is not entirely clear. However, if you dive a little deeper, it is possible that out of hundreds of thousands or even millions of projects, one strange dependency will be removed, and we will not have to download it 33 million times a week from NPM servers, and global warming will not occur after all. For some reason, when the classes were added in JavaScript, private fields and private methods weren't added. Years passed, and finally we waited. Private fields, private methods, static private fields, and even private static methods have arrived. A whole abundance of long-awaited gifts. They are all marked with a hash sign. This means that fields or methods are private. I personally had the most questions about the hash sign. After all, even in TypeScript, prefixes such as private, protected, and public are used to describe the scope of methods, following the example of other languages. So why the hash sign? The answer I've found out the next. The JavaScript language is dynamically typed and does not have static typing. As a result, JavaScript lacks an internal tool to quickly check if you are accessing a private field and point out the error to you. To solve this problem, it was decided to use the hash, not only in the method description, but also in all accesses to this field. This allows the interpreter to quickly understand that this field is private. And in terms of readability, this approach seems more transparent to me. Another interesting point is that we can create two variables with the same name. The only difference will be the presence or absence of the hash before the name. As a result, we have two completely different variables. This can be useful for getters and setters. In the current example, we store data in a private field, and for the getter and setter, we can use the exact same name. Previously, we always had to come up with different names for the getter and the field where we stored the data, but now getters and setters look much more attractive to use. Perhaps the JavaScript implementation of private fields differs from other languages, but it seems even more modern to me. It is not clear how convenient all of this will be. Time will tell who will win, the old or the new school. I really hope you enjoyed the episode and you've liked the video, subscribed to the channel, and of course, clicked on the bell because there is no spam on this channel. Bye.